Good afternoon, dear friends. We are happy to welcome you on this wonderful day. My name is Sergey Dolgov,
I'm Olga Dolgova.
and we want to tell you about how a digital farmer's day might be in the year 2025, let's say. Imagine, you are a digital farmer, you live a quiet life, you breed your digital cows, and then early in the morning, a wonderful spring day, you hear an incredible noise outside your window. It just wakes you up. You go outside and you realize that this noise is caused by your neighbor who flew to you on a rocket pack from the other side of the river because he wanted to come to you for a long time, but the road was muddy because of the rain, and a rocket pack is the best means of transportation in such a case. He comes to you and says, I need your help. You ask him what's the matter. He says, I have my chipped bees lost their way home. I say, I lost data on the servers because I had a power surge in the neighborhood. Let's synchronize. Your bees and mine graze in the same field. They have approximately the same routes, and I need to submit statistics reporting. No problem. Let's do it. Just remember that we need to send a request to the guys who pollinate fields with drones because they pollinate today, and then the bees can't fly there, so we need to synchronize it all somehow. Well, we send a request to the drone service. They cancel their flights. We have to pay a fine as much as 1.5% of Bitcoin. In general, the neighbor is not very lucky, but this morning just begins. Children from the neighboring school come. We have long promised to show them the local dark farm. It's such an automated site where everything is grown without human participation. We promised them to make such a thing at school. They came to learn from us, and while they were learning, they remembered that we have cows with VR glasses walking around the farm. And this is an important, very important process, because when you turn on good music for cows, you show them videos, they get tired, and the children are all like, let's show them cartoons. SpongeBob, for example, we are like, no, we have very serious animals. They can't do that at all. They are stressed. They say, I see, because you have cows here. Yes, that's what they called our place. But in general, the children got restless. And in the end, to calm them down, we offered them to play sea battle on drones. The thing is, we have special drones that can mark fields with paint and mark where there are, for example, weeds or pests. But this time, we just divided the children into two groups, wheat vs. corn, and said, guys, look for special marks where you have wheat, where you have corn, mark with paint. In general, whoever occupies more territory wins. Well, in general, they flew for an hour. They painted this field. We could hardly keep them down. But they were very happy. They went home, and we looked at the painted field all redrawn like this and did nothing because, in fact, tomorrow it will rain and wash it all away. The paint is ecological, and we are not worried because we know exactly what time it will rain because the weather service never fails us. That's the story.
And you think it's all fantastic? No. Probably except for the 20 satchels that exist in the world that fly. Everything else is very close to reality, and we are witnessing it. For example, this year the Save the Bees project was launched, which synchronizes the pollination of fields with chemicals and the movement of ravens to them so that bees don't die. It's a big problem that's being addressed. Another example. Our old partners, friends of Tumen State University, who in their ex-bio laboratory are building these drones, programming them and teaching them how to mark fields where the weeds are, where the useful plants are, and so on. Lots and lots of other functions. And we don't have to talk about the weather at all because we know a startup called Geostorm, which has already received over $1 million in investment this year and is developing very actively and can predict the weather down to the minute. That's happening right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, a few weeks ago, literally a couple weeks ago, a video came out about a ruthless cyber village. And it seems like it's symptomatic, not coincidental, because the industry is evolving in such a way that they're already starting to make memes and parodies about it. And it's really cool that it came out, because if someone asks you now, what do? You're like, well, I do agri-tech and agro-hacking. They're like, what is that? You say, and it's like in the video, only, well, it's serious actually, and it's really serious because the volume of the agri-tech market reached about 12 trillion rubles this year, and it's one of the fastest growing areas of digital business. And if you want to change the world, if you want to do something significant, then you definitely need to stay here and develop, because this is the future that's coming right now.
Why are we talking about it? In the picture behind us, you see a farm, an old abandoned Soviet farm, but it came to life after my husband Sergey and I moved there from Moscow 3 years ago, leaving our jobs at FinTech. And we got involved in agrotechnology, among other things, and we plan to make an agro accelerator on this farm in the near future, and in general, a large agro hub where teams will gather. And most importantly, these teams will influence not only our small farm, but also a large area around it. And that's a very meaningful change that's happening right now.
Yes, agrotechnology can change not only the conditions under which fruits and vegetables are grown, it can change territories, economies, and the lives of a huge number of people. We'd like to tell you about a few examples of those startups that are inspiring in us, that, let's say, we're partnering with and that we're offering you now to see as an example of what's being done very cool right now.
This one right here is my favorite. I remember a story from my childhood and remember the feeling when you're running through a cornfield in the summer in a tank top, and the corn has these sharp leaves and they cut your shoulders and you don't feel it at first, and then you get out and everything itches. And you had to run out there because my grandmother said you had to find the weeds and see if there were any insects on the roots of the corn because they kill the plants. And this little guy you saw in the video can drive between fields, see what's happening to the plants, create a tried model like this. It's a completely digitized field. What's more, it has powerful vision, powerful intelligence. Everything is naturally artificial. And most importantly, there's also a pen that can feel the plant, sample it, and even fix it a little bit or water it. Then
a great example of vertical farms that you can put in any office in your home, a fully automated story. You know, we sometimes have plants withered at home, but ours we just forget to water, we don't have time, and here automatically by watering all the plants, whether they're edible or inedible, you'll have it all right. If all of a sudden you're missing some healthy salad, it will automatically send a signal to the dispatch service, which is responsible for the delivery of consumables in general for this farm, and you will always have fresh food right here, just a step away from where you are sitting or working.
that. It's a thing for the home and for the lazy. You see how it waters the plant without causing you any inconvenience, but only growing those lovely greens. But there's an even more advanced story with farms that are fully automated. This is the Russian startup iFarm, which we are insanely inspired by. It's a technology that is very, very much like a toy, a farm, where you can completely manage the growing cycle of a plant, and most importantly, place this story next to a store, to a restaurant and so on, and grow products on a very serious scale for a whole production.
By the way, it's great that you brought up Fun Farm, because the founder of iPharma, that's also the founder of Alavar, which made a huge number of cool computer games. And Fun Farm was one of the most successful and interesting ones. So a dream and a game turned into a serious business.
Now that's another favorite example that has to do with childhood trauma. Maybe you remember, and if you don't, your parents probably told you that in the past you had to pick insects, particularly Colorado potato beetles, off potatoes with your hands and then throw them into a jar of kerosene to die there. So the startup TrapView helps farmers of the future not to do this, because these are special boxes in which pests get in. Just passing by, they have bait, and sensors built inside the box read who it is, what he's doing, and what manipulations the farmer needs to get rid of these pests. And it's a great way to reduce the labor costs of having to survey a field.
Yes, a huge number of child man hours just saved thanks to this startup. AgroWeb is an operating system that allows you to manage your farm, for example, by connecting information about the life of any animal, about its habits, about its movements, up to the fact that if you, for example, decide to move a herd of cows to another meadow, the system will tell you that, for example, this new field will not have enough grass, and the cows there will start to lack food, so they will offer you another area. That is, it is a complex management of your farm practically from your smartphone or tablet.
And this is a cool toy. It's called an electronic shepherd, but it's not electronic. It's even quite virtual. Electronic shepherds now, a lot of everywhere. It's just a string stretched along the pasture. But here everything is more interesting. Here you draw a virtual line on your tablet and this thread appears, but only not in reality, but in the consciousness of the animal, which has a collar on its neck, and crossing the line drawn by you means for the animal an unpleasant vibration. It simply does not go there. And this kind of startup helps you not to use dogs, although that's been going on for a long time, not to agonize yourself getting the cows where they need to go. And it's a very easy way to manage large numbers of animals.
Yes, in case you want, for example, to plow a part of the field or to carry out some construction work, you just practically with one movement of the hand can fence this part and use it according to your own way.
Very important is the thermal imager to see how the cows are moving.
How comfortable they are. Comfortable. The AgroDrone Group project is one of the most interesting and strong and promising agro startups on the market today, which was created by Dmitry Rubin, and it is a powerful system that consists of a grouping of drones and a very powerful intelligent mechanism to recognize information. For example, imagine that you and I are looking at this field, we see just greenery of different colors, but the AgroDrone Group system can see pests, soil conditions, the presence of various minerals, pests, and so on. That is, in order to solve such a problem, to get such a picture, a farmer needs to launch 100 and 500 agronomists on this land, and still in time and in such quantity, this data will not be obtained, which is why the startup is popular not only in Russia, but also abroad.
And the Regan Villages projector is already the future, not so much of agro-complexes, but the future of villages. This is a huge settlement with a huge internal resource when everything that is produced, everything that is grown, everything that is then eaten by humans goes completely into recycling and regeneration, and not only into fertilizer, which is understandable, but also into food for example, fish, which then goes into food for people. There's an interesting operating system here that controls this village and the temperature regimes, all the recirculation processes, and it's a very complex machine. And it's done right now in a prototype in the Netherlands, and it's gaining investment for the next rounds.
It's basically the new Windows or iOS, only this time not for computers anymore, but for small towns and villages. Well, it seems that the next word in biohacking should be the control of internal processes that occur in living things, in plants, fungi, microorganisms. And on the one hand, it is simply breathtaking when you think about what programmers will be able to do. For example, endowing the blueberry genome with the frost-resistant properties of black spruce so that these blueberries can be grown in the far north and delight northern children with tasty treats. But on the other hand, there are a lot of legal and moral and ethical issues to be solved, and if you are looking at making a breakthrough, you absolutely need to go in this direction to study it, because here we are promised the most interesting, the most powerful changes about only in fantastic
people behind the technology.
Of course.
But if you don't want to make a startup, you can combine other startups into marketplaces, into ecosystems. This is already a very popular trend. For example, you do not have to go far. Only a few months ago, if I am not mistaken, a law was passed on the possibility of reselling excess solar energy from the panels that are already installed in the country in various places. And the solar energy marketplace is not something that is the future. It's also an affordable reality, and a very interesting one at that.
Yes, what's more, you can sell surplus not only solar energy, but also animal products and fertilizer and the animals themselves and the land. In general, if you want to create an ecosystem by combining other already existing startups, then now is the time, because in retail and e-commerce it is much, much more difficult. But in agrotech, which is just rising, gaining momentum, there are all the inputs for this. Well, and if you want to learn more about what are the top companies working in the agro market now, what investors are investing in them, and where you can find jobs or ideas for development, we invite you to visit the agrotech map on the Ruspace website. From there, you will learn a lot of new things.
And it is important, behind every technology there are people. First, the people who make them. Secondly, those who use them. If we are talking about agro-technologies, it is practically impossible to work in this sphere without being on the territory with which you interact, without being on the land, in the village, and so on. That is why we urge everyone who wants to work in agro-technology to go and live there, to see who's there, what's being done there. It's at least a very exciting experience, at most a great resource for doing really useful work and cool technology that will change the world.
Friends, we hope that we have inspired you and that you now realize that fields are not sad, they are not boring, but very interesting and, most importantly, promising.
We wish you super luck in all your endeavors, today and in life in general. Come to the villages, create agrotech, and let everything work out.